Hello everybody, it's Becca at Sew Darn Twisted. It was requested by a few people that I show you how I make the vintage label ephemera that I do for printables, etc. So in this video I'm going to be teaching you how to do these particular ones. Now this tutorial is aimed at people who have at least a rough working knowledge of Photoshop. So if you've never used the software, you'll probably find it incredibly difficult to follow. So you may want to go and practice a little bit and sort of learn about the tools and things like that before you try to attempt something like this. Although it is simple, I have to be very aware of the fact that not everybody knows Photoshop the way that I do, because I used it, for my living for years. So it's one of those things I forget sometimes that not everybody knows things. So yeah, I have to kind of dial it back and say, okay, this is as easy as I can make this, but you're still going to need to be at least familiar with Photoshop. So that, yeah, let's get going. I'll show you how I do it. So the first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to decide what shapes you want to use. Now you can find shapes that are completely free to use. If you are going to use them commercially, however, you have to make sure that you have items that you are allowed to use commercially. Now you can go onto a site called vectoreasy.com up here and search shapes, and you'll get, some results come through. If I just show you, if you want to filter for the free license only, these you have to give credit for. So when you post them online anywhere, you would have to add the credit to it. So as such, if I go back onto that one, as you can see, they're free download with attribution required, and when you click on that, it'll start your lovely download for you. And then we can come out of that, and then you'll see here attribution required, copy and apply it to get the free license. So that's all you have to do basically in order to be able to use these commercially. If you're just using them to make and print for your own use, then it doesn't matter, but for anything else you have to make sure that you have the required permissions, otherwise you can get yourself in a heck of a lot of trouble. So as you can see, I've downloaded the shapes here, and what we're going to do today is we're just going to work within one of these shapes just to give you an idea of how to do it with multiples of the same shape. So because you can repeat the initial steps for all of the shapes, but I'm just going to show you today using one of them. So let's have this one here. So I'm just using my selection tool there to drag a selection around that, and then I'm going to Apple J, Command J. So now we have just that one shape. So we're going to just move that up here. It's a bit big at the moment, so using the move tool, we're just going to reduce the size of that slightly, and then we're going to OK, or you can just hit return and it will do that for you. Now, the thing with using shapes is it's always better to use a vector shape, and I will explain why. So you will often find that when you try to remove the white background from something like this using your magic wand tool, if you're not using a vector file, you will often find that it will not select very well the difference between the two. So when you remove it by hitting your delete key, you will often find lots of little random speckles left behind, and you will find an awful lot of printables available both for sale and for download that have those, which if you're trying to use it with print and cut will be a nightmare, because your software will try to also pick out all these bits. You will also find a lot of the time that it will create a jagged edge around here, which will take much longer for your Cricut or Silhouette to cut, because it's trying to cut all of those rather than just one smooth line. So if possible, use vector shapes, or just make sure there are no little straggly bits laying around, that kind of thing. If it is leaving a jagged edge, your only solution really then to get it smooth is to use your path tool, but I will show that in another tutorial because it is far more advanced than this way. So all I've done is hit the delete key. That has got rid of the white background for me, and if I just Command D to drop my selection, and then here you go, you have your lovely shape. Now what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the shape by using the Apple J key again, and then we are going to use our paint bucket tool, which on Photoshop is G for the hotkey. We're going to select a different colour completely, and we're going to drop it on there. Then we're going to use our free transform tool here, or you can use Command T to get the same thing. Now if you hold down your Alt key and drag, you will see that it does that wonderful thing. Then if you use your Shift key, you can just manipulate it around to be where you want it to sit to get your border, and then just nudge it around until you're happy. Okay, this one for some reason still has some of the white artifact left from above, so we're just going to select that and delete to get rid of it. Okay, so you now have two layers. You have that one and that one, okay, and you want to keep those as they are separate. We're going to select the two of them by holding down Command and selecting both layers, and we're going to Command J again to duplicate that, and we're going to move it across, and then we're going to do the same thing again, move it across, and one more. You can have selected the first two and done the same thing and just dragged two across. Then you're going to basically just align them. So you're going to take your first and second layers, and we're just going to move those across a little bit, and then the next ones. It is important to keep them separate, and you will see why shortly. As I say, this is a step-by-step thing. So okay, so now we know that we've got space around all four. That's fine. The alignment of them doesn't matter massively for what we're going to be doing here, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. So now you've got the four there, we are going to select the four background, the four black shapes, and we're going to merge those. So you can either right click and merge or Command A to merge those together, and as you can see it's sat on top of these, so we'll move it down the bottom. There you go. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to select all four of the light layers and we're going to merge those. Okay, fabulous. Now here's where it can get a little complicated depending on what you want to do. You can either just leave it as one row and do different shapes and follow the same process, or you can make multiple rows. So to do that, you're just going to hold down both and duplicate, hit your move tool, which is V, and then drag them down. Okay, fantastic. So your best bet here is to rename your layers. So we're going to have, that's going to be row 1 backgrounds, fabulous. That will be row 1 inside. Okay, and I suggest doing that for all of them. So that is going to be row 2 backgrounds and row 2 inside. Okay, fantastic, and I will show you why in a minute. So we're also going to move the insides and the backgrounds to be together. This is an important step that I will explain. So we're going to duplicate the inside and the backgrounds again, and we're going to move those down. Okay, so let's get those again, and now we'll drag them down. There we go. So yeah, just the same process of just duplicating the layers. That's all that is. Okay. Now obviously you can make it so that they're all nicely aligned and perfect and what have you, just by selecting your individual rows and moving them around. That's fine. Personally, I'm not that worried about it. Shh, don't tell anybody. Okay, so that is my row 1 background. That's my row 2 background. This is my row 3 background. And I need to just grab my row 4 and bring that down. So you just hold, click and hold to drag it down. So that is my row 4 background. This just makes it easier if you want to have different things on different rows. Okay, and that one is going to be my, oh, didn't select all of it, did it? This is going to be my row 4, insert. Okay, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Fantastic. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to select all 4 of the backgrounds, and what we're going to do here is we're going to right click and we're going to choose group. So that will be called backgrounds, and then we're going to do the same thing here, and this is going to be called insides, or whatever it is you want to call it. Okay, now it's time to bring in what you're going to have against your black shape, so your bigger shape. So all you're going to do is click on the layer name there, and you're going to drag it across to your other canvas, and it will just do that for you automatically. I'm going to hit my F key again to take it into the big screen. Now, using the move tool, just kind of drag it around, get it about central if it's not already an A4 size, obviously. Do not drag it this way and distort it, because it will look awful. What you want to do is just leave it as moving everything, and we're just going to drag it out so that it just covers, and then make sure that the part that you want the most is the part that's showing. Okay, I'll just make that just a touch so I know it's covering everything. Okay, and then you're just going to hit your return key, and that's resized that for you. Now you need to drag that down below your insides on top of your backgrounds. Now you're going to hold down your Alt key, and you see that little thing that comes up there? You're going to click that, and that will makes it what we call a clipping layer, the clipping layer. So what it's done here is it's clipped it to just the background section. Okay, so that will just, and if you turn that off, you'll see that it's just there. You might want to just have those as they are, that's fine too. Okay, so now we're just going to go back out, and we're going to pull out the one for the insides. Same process, just drag it across, just bring that, there we go, and then exactly the same thing again, just drag it so it fits. Okay, lovely, and again see where you want it to be sitting, and then fantastic, apply that, and then again Alt key, blink, there you go. Okay, you have some lovely labels. You can now export this as a transparent PNG file, which you can then load into Cricut, Silhouette, that kind of thing, and you can have the machine do a print and then cut for you. Wonderful. Obviously you can fussy cut them yourself if you don't have a cutting machine. You can add a background if you wanted to, like a colour, so that you could maybe cut around, make it all kind of raggedy around the edges or something as you cut it. You know, you've got options here. But basically that is it, and you can now change it as much as you like, as many different patterns as you like, just following that same process, you know, of this. It's so easy. So what you can do then is you can knock off those, you can save that, get rid of both of those, and then you can just save that as your PSD file now, so that everything is linked and done for you, and then you can just drag in whatever patterns you want as many times as you want and put different patterns or colours, combinations, anything like that. You know, you can just do them plain so that you can embellish them however you want to. You know, you've got a lot of possibilities with this, and it is so simple to do, as you can see. So I hope that's been easy for you guys to follow, and I hope that it's going to lead to lots of new things cropping up in the groups where you've tried it yourself, hopefully. But yeah, I'll be back with another tutorial on some other printables very soon. So take care guys, happy crafting.